Hi guys, and welcome to another 10 facts video. Now, in my previous facts video I asked you, the viewers, if there were any 10 facts videos that you'd particularly like to see. There were some great suggestions, but one in particular got me excited to do a video. That suggestion was from Johnny, aka Retro Heaven, and his suggestion was, of course, Street Fighter. So thank you to Johnny, and I'll leave a link to his channel in the description, so please check him out. Street Fighter is one of the most well-known gaming franchises in the world, with multiple games on various systems spanning 30 years. Street Fighter characters have appeared in various spin-off and crossover games, as well as cartoons, comic books, movies and other media. Street Fighter was a huge influence on me as a kid, crowding around Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinets to see the older lads pull off the latest and best special moves. I grew up playing Street Fighter 2 on the SNES and Mega Drive, then the Alpha series, Street Fighter 3, and more recently Street Fighter 4 on the PS3, and it may be a surprise to some that one of my favourites was Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha on the PS1. My mates and I would play that game to death in our teens until our thumbs were literally red raw. I also spent countless hours at the Namco arcade in Soho, playing the most recent iterations of Street Fighter in their huge downstairs fighting game area. I'm also a huge fan of the crossover games such as Marvel Superheroes vs Street Fighter, X-Men vs Street Fighter, the Marvel vs Capcom and Capcom vs SNK series, and more recently Tatsunoko vs Capcom. So we all know the series, but do we all know these 10 facts? Let's find out, shall we? Hadouken! 1. In Street Fighter 2, after defeating an opponent, Ryu would say, "You must defeat Shenlong to stand a chance." This line was actually a mistranslation of the intended phrase, "You must defeat my Dragon Punch to stand a chance." This poor translation confused many fans and became a long-running joke for Capcom, which adapted the imaginary character into Guken, and in Super Street Fighter 2, the hidden character Akuma, Guken's younger brother, and nearly included Shenlong as a character in Street Fighter the movie, the game. There was even an April Fool's joke in a magazine explaining the steps needed to unlock Shenlong. Hadouken! 2. One of the secrets of Street Fighter's success was combos, but combos were not originally intended to be a feature of Street Fighter, but arose due to a bug. The original intention for Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2 was for the game to act a bit more like rock, paper, scissors, i.e. a real fight. Every hit could be blocked, and whether or not a move connected would be determined by its speed, range, and the opponent's actions. The dev team knew that certain moves could be chained together, but thought that the skill required to do so was far out of the common gamer's hands. They were very much mistaken. Hadouken! 3. Ken and Ryu are the only two characters to have shown up in every Street Fighter title, including the original. This also counts EX titles, Alpha titles, and even spin-offs like Super Puzzle Fighter. The only time that Ryu ever showed up without Ken at his side was in the Marvel vs series. Hadouken! 4. A couple of the boss characters in Street Fighter 2 have had their names switched around from the Japanese version. Balrog was originally known as M. Bison, with the M standing for Mike. Mike Bison. Sound familiar? Indeed, Balrog is a parody of Mike Tyson, but due to fear of legal action in America they decided to change his name. The original name of American Vega was Balrog, and the original name of American M. Bison was Vega, so instead of changing the names entirely, Capcom simply decided to switch them around, because Vega sounded vaguely Spanish, Balrog sounded tough, and the M in M. Bison could be read as Master. To avoid confusion, the Street Fighter community just calls them Boxer, Claw and Dictator. Hadouken! 5. The Street Fighter franchise holds various world records. It holds the Guinness record for being the most prolific fighting game series. The game got this honour for being the fighting game franchise with the most versions, which was 133 as of 2011. It also holds the records for best-selling coin-operated fighting game, longest-running fighting video game series, and remains Capcom's best-selling game. Once Street Fighter 2 had taken the gaming world by storm, Capcom started making serious cash, with game sales bringing in $1.5 billion by 1993, and gross revenues from its 200,000 arcade cabs hitting $2.3 billion by 1995. The Super Nintendo version also sold more than 6.3 million units, making it Capcom's best-selling software for a single platform to date, and second overall after Resident Evil 5. A whopping 1 million of those SNES units were sold in June of 1992 in Japan, within the first 2 weeks of the game's release. The Street Fighter series pioneered many popular mechanics that we now take for granted in fighting games, such as combos as previously mentioned. Street Fighter 3 was the first game to introduce parrying in fighting games. 1996's X-Men vs Street Fighter was the first fighting game to introduce tag team gameplay. Chun-Li was the first playable female character in a fighting game. Street Fighter 2 was the first fighting game to offer a choice of characters with unique moves. In the original Street Fighter and similar fighting games, players could only choose one playable character, which in Street Fighter is Ryu, or join the game as a second default character, i.e. Ken. When Street Fighter 2 landed, players were suddenly able to select from a wide range of characters, all with their own unique stages, stats, and special moves. Having this plethora of choice became the standard for fighting games. Russian wrestler Zangief was originally supposed to be named, wait for it, Vodka Gabalski. Ken was the first Street Fighter character to be given a last name, Masters, because when Street Fighter figures were produced in the US, Mattel felt it would be confused with their toy, Ken Carson, Barbie's boyfriend. For 1994's feature film Street Fighter, a number of the game's characters gained first or last names. For example, Guile became William F. Guile, Sagat became Victor Sagat, Ryu became Ryu Hoshi, and Chun-Li took on the last name Zhang. Street Fighter 2 was an instant hit, but fans started to make it even better. When Capcom's updated release, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, which required arcade owners to upgrade to new costly, supposedly limited release units, failed to wow players, a wave of unofficial enhancements containing fans' favourite hacks spread throughout the market. These merely required simple ROM upgrades to the existing arcade machines. Popular examples include the Rainbow Edition, Shenlong Edition, Accelerator T1, and several Super, Turbo and Hyper sets. Capcom cracked down on these copyright violations but took the hint and quickly released Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting with faster gameplay featuring many of the best hack moves as a simple ROM upgrade for Champion boards. The original sequel for Street Fighter was rebranded after it strayed into the beat-em-up genre, becoming the Final Fight series. Capcom decided to separate the brands, deciding that a beat-em-up game could capitalise on the success of titles like Double Dragon, and Final Fight was born. This decision also helped mould Street Fighter 2 into what it was, as it was decided multiplayer would then be the focus for the game, as Final Fight had already covered the single-player experience in arcades. This is also an explanation as to why Final Fight characters such as Poison, Alex, Hugo, Sodom and Relento appeared in various Street Fighter games due to the relationship between the two franchises. Had this separation not happened, Street Fighter 2 would not have had any of the innovations it introduced, and the fighting game genre may never have become as successful as it did. A seemingly minor decision at the time turned out to have a butterfly effect-like influence over gaming. Final! To make Street Fighter feel global in scale, the designers based several characters on real-life martial artists and celebrities from around the world in order to give the roster an international vibe, like in a real fighting tournament. Eagle has an uncanny resemblance to Petrov, the character from the Bruce Lee film Fist of Fury. His later designs also bear a likeness to Freddie Mercury. Joe, DJ and Fei Long appear to be based on the martial artists Joe Louis, Billy Blanks and Bruce Lee respectively. Alex and Hugo are not based on martial artists but on the professional wrestlers Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Alex even rips his shirt off during his intro, much like Hulk Hogan. Hugo bears more of a visual resemblance to Andre the Giant as he's a whopping 8 foot tall, and in his bio it's revealed that they also share the same birthday. The unique intro animation when the two face off in Street Fighter 3 is an homage to Hulk and Andre's iconic stare down just before they wrestled for the WWF title at WrestleMania 3. So there we have my 10 Street Fighter facts. As always, thanks for watching guys. If you have any more suggestions for any 10 facts videos you'd like to see in the future, please leave them in the comments as always, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers!